My next guest is an account manager at Forge FC in the Canadian Premier League. Please welcome my friend James Hutton. Hey, James.
How are you, Vince? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on here. So, James, tell us about yourself for making the transition from Nielsen into the sport industry, and why did you want to work in the sport industry?
Yeah, I think my entry into the industry was probably a little different from yourself or your colleagues because I didn't go to school for sports management or anything like that. I went to McMaster for business, and that led to some really awesome jobs that came out of that. So I was working for SC Johnson for a few years, and I made this transition over to an analytics company called Nielsen, and I just wasn't feeling inspired about it. Amazing company and amazing work, but I was kind of figuring out that it wasn't truly for me. And I drive in every morning. I listen to my soccer podcasts, and I check the soccer news when I'm at work. And then I drive home. And I listen to more soccer talk, and I play FIFA, and I go watch soccer. And it's just like I was just obsessed. And I think I finally hit a breaking point where I was like, why aren't I just doing this more and more and more? And I knew that this Canadian Premier League was going to be starting up soon, and that's when I left the job and moved over to try and work on this opportunity. And I just effectively immersed myself in the sport.
James, you're the second ever hire at Forge FC in 2018. How were the beginning phases to help building a brand in the Hamilton community?
It was super cool. I think you find in the sports industry you've got a lot of opportunity to affect change, whether it's not necessarily your background or your specific job title. But there were two soccer staff working in the Ticats office, and suddenly it was like, while I was really brought in to sell tickets, we hadn't launched a brand, and we didn't have a logo or a coach or anything like that, and that wasn't going to be coming for a few months. So for us, it was planning, logo meetings and what launch was going to look like, and the venues that we were looking into, effectively launching the birth of the brand and the birth of the sports team, which was really, really cool because you're in this spot that not a lot of industry professionals get to touch, where it's just you're actually starting something versus maintaining it, which was so cool. So anything from the logo meetings and working with the designers, the league had a big impact on how we were managing things. That was this really, really cool opportunity to kind of touch all these different parts of the business before we got going. And doing that for a number of months, getting things up and ready and watching all the other teams launch and kind of having a benchmark, and then from that just really leaning into everything about awareness and branding. So when we got up and running, we had, I want to say, about 1,000 people at the launch. I could be wrong, but these people summer day, and we announced what the logo was going to look like and the colors and the feel of things, and then it was just hitting the streets. We weren't going to start play for a number of months, so it was getting deposits and making sure people knew that this was a thing and what it really meant, because I think having two professional soccer leagues in the country provides a little bit of confusion, and there's a lot of education to be done. But it was just this awesome opportunity.
So, James, let's go through your roles. As an account manager, what are some of your daily tasks and responsibilities in your role?
Yeah, so when I first started, it was kind of jack of all trades, and quite honestly, there wasn't really much to sell at that point in time. But as we launched, we moved into the deposit process and just getting people to put $50 down if they wanted season seats or flex packs or whatever, and then eventually turning those into season seats. So at that point, then I was all in on the sales front and just making sure that there were people who were able to come out with groups, with soccer teams, season seats. Just if someone wanted to come out, that we made that opportunity available to them. So for me, it's just making sure we're getting as many people in the building as we can, which for us went, I think, very well the first year. The very first game we actually had, we want to make free for the community so people can sign up and get 2 free tickets, and that ended up being about 17,000 people that showed up for the first ever game, which is amazing. And the fact that we could then leverage that into people coming out again, or coming with their friends, or whatever it may be. People got a feel for what the environment was like. But effectively, as an account manager, you just want to be the guy. You want to be the person that people think of when they think of Forge. Oh yeah, yeah, James can hook us up some tickets. I love those games. Those are a lot of fun. So for me, it's just making sure that I'm out there and connected, and in turn, Forge is connected to the community.
Around 2 months ago, James, you presented in front of the Ontario Soccer with the rebrand of Hamilton Soccer. Such a cool opportunity. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I sit on the Hamilton Soccer Board, which kind of oversees soccer in the city, and Brantford and Paris. So you kind of have Canadian Soccer Association, the Ontario Soccer, and then our own region. So I sit on that board. But I find with youth sports, and soccer is no different, there's just a lot of governance and confusion and politics. And it's our job to help assist the clubs through Ontario and Canada Soccer, but also ensure that they've got what they need. And our brand was a little out of touch, and our website was very outdated. And it was a really good opportunity for us to drive activity and content if we refresh things. So it was really cool going through the Forge branding, and then being able to kind of take those learnings and apply them to our Hamilton Soccer rebranding. We've got a much nicer, cleaner, modern logo. Website has been driving a ton of content in terms of the stuff we put on there for educational tools for people who want to get into soccer as well. So that was really, really cool to see that all come to life. I got to present in front of the Ontario Soccer delegation, which was 200, 300 people on a Friday night. And it was just telling the story of here's what we found in our surveys. And, Hamilton's a divided community, both in age and in demographics and geography. What unites us with soccer? Why is Hamilton soccer different than any other region? And we found some really, really cool insights on that. And it was very cool to see the brand come to life, and then everyone in turn interacting with this new logo, and how it was being reflected quite quickly within the community.
Building off that, James, what was your most memorable experience thus far in your sport career?
But yeah, and I've only been in sports for 2 years, but it's been a good 2 years. We've had a lot of firsts with Forge. We were the first team to host the inaugural game. We were the first coaching announcements and player announcements. We were the first team to play international competition through CONCACAF League. So there was all these really, really cool, awesome moments that, quite frankly, if I was working in the same role on another team, I wouldn't have had. But the biggest thing was we won the championship in November, and it was this really cool battle we had going with Calgary, and those were our rivals all year. We had the exact same record against each other, same wins, same times, same losses, and we went into this two-legged final with them, and we felt good. We felt good. We hosted the first leg. We won that 1-0, and it was 10,000 people at the stadium, and it was just a brilliant, brilliant day. But it's crazy to think, I think, how your fandom has escalated in a different way when you work for the team. People talk about how much they love the Leafs or they love the Jays, the Raptors, and what it meant to them when they won. But when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something like that, and then the team wins, it's just a whole other level of fandom and energy, and you're getting back what you put into it. So I got to fly out to Calgary with the team. We were up 1-0. It was 0-0 all game, and then in the final minute we scored, which effectively ended any chance of Calgary coming back into things. So we won 2-0 on aggregate, and you're on the field with the players, and I'm in the championship photo, and it's just the most incredible moment and feeling to have been able to help get this team to that summit in my own way with an outstanding team. And that will stay with me for a long, long, long time.
Uh, James, this question just popped in my head, but how was approaching fans of soccer? How was that process like trying to recruit them to come to Forge FC games?
Yeah, and we were actually, I think, in a good spot because within Hamilton and Brantford alone, we've got about 16,000 registered soccer players, and that doesn't even include Burlington, which is closer than Brantford is. So there's a really good base of individuals that played soccer, were connected to the sport. Hamilton's also a refugee city, so there's quite a lot of immigrants here who are already connected with the sport, but they've never been connected to it in Canada. So there's a lot of these cool, unique opportunities that I think we in Hamilton had to allow those people to show their passion for soccer through Hamilton. But then on top of that, we were in a really unique situation where if you were a soccer fan in the city, you had already been to Toronto FC, and in turn, you'd already been to professional soccer games. So for us, it made the job a little bit easier if we could convince people, the value was very good and the level of play was really good. Then why would you need to go anywhere else in the province to watch professional soccer when you can do it right here in your backyard and cheer for your hometown team? So for us, that was really, really exciting because you would talk to one person about it and you share the vision and what this means and how this is going to affect everything all the way leading up to the World Cup, and they buy in and they get it. And suddenly, when they're calling you the next day saying, "Hey, I talked to my friends; they want in too. Can we be seated together?" There was this great wave of seeing it just kind of grow farther and farther and reaching deeper into the soccer community. And don't get me wrong, we've got a lot of work to do. It's only been one season, but from the base we've created, and in turn, I think the excitement and the moments and just the level that we execute at within Forge, it makes a huge difference, and that will keep everything growing year to year.
James, when I was watching the finals of Forge FC, when the camera goes to the fans and you look around the stadium and you see so many people excited, and it was fun to watch. As a fan of soccer, it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think within ticketing, there's certain moments that give you validation. Obviously, you've got your own internal ticketing goals and things like that. Um, but we're finding out exactly how legit we are within the community. So the benchmarks for me when we were selling the finals was, can we beat the Bulldogs number of, I think it was 9,300 fans in the building when they won the OHL championship a couple of years back. And then the other number was the Ottawa Fury held a playoff game years ago, and it was a semifinal. They hosted a game that would have put them in the finals, and they had just over 10,000 people, and we were able to beat both of those numbers for people in the building and for tickets sold, which for me was like, the difference between 9,000, 10,000 in the building is perhaps negligible when you look around the arena, but for me, that was a very clear statement from the people buying tickets that, yeah, this is something we want to be involved in. And it was making noise in the community. And, we had beaten those attendance records. For me, that made a really, really important statement.
James, my last question for you is: what advice would you give anyone that is wanting to find employment in the sport industry? You could be like a student or someone like as yourself who transitioned to the sport industry. What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I am not the poster boy for how to get into sports because I spent 4 or 5 years not doing sports before just immersing myself in it. And I think I came very lucky with the experience I brought to the table and how I was able to get involved with Forge for that way. I would say there's quite a lot to do in sports. So it's very important you know what you want to do. If you want to be involved with the game ops side of things, if you want to be involved with the design side of things and marketing, social media, maybe it's the ticketing or and community side of things, and you're talking to people and you're going out and meeting people all the time, having a really clear indication of what you want to do and preparing yourself for that, because sports is a dogfight when it comes to applications. right? Everybody wants to be in sports. But if you can showcase you're one of the few people who wants to be in social media X and Y or design X and Y, and you're building the resume and experience to really, really showcase that, that's going to make a big difference versus just, oh yeah, I've been a Leafs fan my whole life. Everyone else has who is applying for that job. So how are you showcasing things differently? And I think that makes a massive difference. And just being involved with, if you can be involved with internships and opportunities. I know it's not glamorous at first because sometimes it's volunteering, or Pan Am Games is a really good example of what events are being done locally that you can affect change in. But getting involved with the ground floor on projects like that make a big difference for when you want to start making money for what you want to do.
Awesome, great insight, James. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. Forge FC, really exciting times, and it's just going up from here. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, Vince. Happy to talk about this.
Cool. James Hutton, everybody.